U.S. president's impeachment trial is over, but Donald Trump shows few signs of putting it behind him. In an extraordinary formal press conference, he both hailed Republican loyalists and spoke bitterly about the process and the enemies, his words, he says, who are out to get him.
We've been going through this now for over 3 years. It was evil, it was corrupt, it was dirty cops, it was leakers and liars. And this should never, ever happen to another president, ever. I don't know that other presidents would have been able to take it. Some people said no, they wouldn't have. But I can tell you, at a minimum, you have to focus on this because it can get away very quickly. No matter who you have with you, it can get away very quickly. It was a disgrace. Had I not fired James Comey, who was a disaster, by the way, it's possible I wouldn't even be standing here right now. We caught him in the act. Dirty cops, bad people. If this happened to President Obama, a lot of people would have been in jail for a long time already, many, many years.
The CBC's Katie Simpson is on the story and was watching Trump's speech. So, Katie, what else did we hear from the president?
Well, Trump spoke for about an hour, and it was one of his classic stream of consciousness public appearances where he attacks his enemies, he praises his supporters, and it's very clear that he is very, very angry still about the impeachment process and really tried to lavish praise on his supporters for helping him make it through to the acquittal. The main targets of his attack were Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, as well as Mitt Romney, the one Republican who voted to convict him in the impeachment process. Now, as you heard from that clip that we just played, Donald Trump really painted himself the victim here, the victim of political attacks for the past 3 years, saying that this started the moment he decided to seriously run for president. And I want to warn people, we're going to play a clip of the president sort of describing the agony he says he's gone through. It has some strong language, so if you have kids in the room, I'm just warning you now, but the reason we're going to play this is because, again, this is the President of the United States saying this on live national television with the weight of the importance of someone in that role using this kind of language. But here's how Donald Trump really summed it up, not just the impeachment process, but everything he's gone through since he became president.
We first went through Russia, Russia, Russia. It was all bullshit. We then went through the Mueller report, and they should have come back one day later. They didn't. They came back 2 years later, after lives were ruined, after people went bankrupt, after people lost all their money.
The way this speech is being described as it's sort of an airing of grievances, Donald Trump running through all of the things he's angry about, all of the people he does not like, and offering the support he can to those who is the Republicans and his staff that have stood by him through this entire ordeal. So Donald Trump, it's very clear, as you said, he's not prepared to forgive and forget, and this seems to be re-energizing him moving forward. Now, this is the second time that Donald Trump spoke publicly today. He attended a national prayer breakfast here in Washington, which is normally not a partisan event. People from different sides of the aisle come together, put their differences aside for a morning, and try and find some common ground. But Donald Trump lashed out at Nancy Pelosi, who shared the stage with him, lashed out at Mitt Romney, and later, after that event, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, she had some very harsh words for the president.
Thought what he said about Senator Romney was particularly without class. What did he say? There's some people who use faith as an excuse to do the wrong things. You remember what he said about Romney? You got that there? It's so inappropriate at a prayer breakfast to go into the stock market and raising up his acquittal thing and mischaracterizing other people's motivation. He's talking about things that he knows little about. Faith and prayer.
It is very clear that the relationship between the president and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is looking like it is at the worst it's ever been, and that those tensions will continue to dominate the tone here in Washington.
And so now the trial is done. Trump has been acquitted. How are Republicans and Democrats likely to frame all of this leading up to the presidential election in November?
Well, Donald Trump, because he's been acquitted, he will continue to push the narrative that he did nothing wrong, his phone call was perfect, and he'll really try to push ahead knowing that he has the support of Republicans, even though Mitt Romney spoke to try and say that he was convinced on what was going on here, but Donald Trump was not able, or Mitt Romney was not able to sway anyone else. So it's clear that Donald Trump has the loyalty of those people in the Republican Party, and the Democrats are just going to try and again to hammer home the message that the president abused the power of his office. He may not have been convicted, but they're going to try and point to events like today to make the argument that he appears to be unhinged and angry.
Katie, thank you. The CBC's Katie Simpson live in Washington.